Welcome back to another edition of the Patriots Redraftables. Today we'll take a look at the 2010 Patriots draft, arguably their best in the 2000s, maybe outside of the 6th round, 199th pick overall in 2000, but arguably their best one. Let's take a look at how they got there, though. The 2009 Patriots leading up to this draft was the year that Brady was back and the year that ended in the Ray Rice run. The infamous Ray Rice score 17 seconds into the wild card game, the last time the Patriots lost at home wild card weekend. The team finished 10-6 on the year and then lost to Ray Rice and company in the playoffs. Brady returned, had a very good year, was third in the league in passing yards with just under 4,400, 28 touchdowns. The interceptions were up that year, a little uptick, 13 interceptions. He had another year of Welker and Moss. Welker at 28 years old, Moss at 32. Both had over 1,000 yards. A very talented offense. The defense was young and pretty good. Mayo, Brandon Merriweather, Vince Wilfork, all in their 20s, young, capable guys. Again, kind of a trend we saw at this time period. They were searching at the DB position. At this time, Lee Bodden and Darius Butler were two of their top corners. I mean, obviously not the best, but offense, defensively wise, they were pretty good. Sixth in scoring on offense, fifth in defense. The red zone, they had some slippage, and obviously just got beat by the Ravens pretty good that day in Foxborough. With that being said, this was a pretty good top end draft. Sam Bradford, obviously a bust, number 1 overall, but picks 2 through 7, very good guys. Ndamukong Suh, Gerald McCoy, Trent Williams, Eric Berry, the list goes on. I mean, top players that are still top players today. You saw some of them on the All-Decade team this week. Very talented. Patriots obviously weren't selecting here. Patriots were selecting 22nd overall, which we'll get into in a second. Taking a look at what the Patriots draft did overall. They ended up with 12 picks on the day. Obviously, wheeling and dealing. Bill Belichick was trading 3rd and 4th rounders all day, which we'll get to in a second. But the two guys at the top are, to me, why it's probably the most important draft of this century. Devin McCourty and Rob Gronkowski, absolute stalwarts of the Patriots for this decade. Gronk just named to the All-Decade team this week by the Pro Football Hall of Fame. McCourty just missed out, but both top-end players helped lead the team to 3 Super Bowls this decade, 3 Super Bowl victories, and obviously a couple other trips to the big game. It's really fell off after that, though. Spikes, Hernandez, Zoltan Mesko, Brandon Diedrich, had some good first couple of years with the Patriots, but obviously none of them made it to real 4th, 5th, or 6th years. To me, though, McCourty and Gronkowski, absolute leaders of the team, probably the top 5 on the team the last decade, and allow them to really be successful. Let's look a little bit closer at McCourty and Gronkowski. McCourty selected 27th overall out of Rutgers. He's played 155 career games, won 3 Super Bowls. He's been named to 2 Pro Bowls. Excuse me. He was named the 12th most valuable player from this draft according to Pro Football's measurement of value added. He was a All-Pro or second-team All-Pro selection in 2010, 2013, and 2016. Of players this decade, he's 6th in interceptions with 26, and 8th in tackles with 772. Obviously, just a model of consistency, leader of that defense. Maybe not the most talented guy. He put up the stats his rookie year, being named to a Pro Bowl, but he's been consistent. He's the reason they don't let up points. Can't say enough good things about him. He's a Bill Belichick, Patriots culture type of guy. He'll be remembered as a Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis type of player years later when he is a Pro Football Hall of Famer or Patriots Hall of Famer. And then Gronk, he needs no introduction. 4 All-Pros, 5 Pro Bowls. When he was going, he was the most talented guy in the league, arguably. 7 years as the primary starter. I mean, the numbers are just incredible to me. The one number that does strike on the negative side I did see, he did not play 16 regular season games after 2011, so his first 2 years both played 16 regular season games, but then after that, injuries slowed him down, eventually leading to a semi-early retirement. I mean, the numbers are just incredible. He was named to the All-Decade team this week. From 2010 to 2019, Gronk ranks first among all players in receiving touchdowns. First. That's just absolutely mind-boggling. Tight ends and receivers. 15th in yards, 24th in receptions. For tight ends all time, he ranks 3rd in touchdowns, 8th in yards, 14 in receptions. He had a 791 career win percentage. Playoff-wise, he played in 16 games, was 12-4, ranked 2nd all time among all players in playoff career touchdowns with 12, behind only Jerry Rice. He's 9th in yards, 8th in catches. And then to me, in my mindset, you could argue this, but he's probably the second most transcendent offensive player drafted in the 2010s in the second round or later. So second round or later from 2010 on, to me, he's second. Russell Wilson being first, the Seahawks quarterback has been dynamite for them. Obviously led to one Super Bowl for them and a couple other trips. But Gronk, to me, is second. He's the second most talented offensive skill position drafted. Receiver, quarterback, tight end, running back. He's the guy that's probably the most transcendent. Michael Thomas of the Saints has a chance to pass him. Thomas was drafted in the second round of 2016. Has a chance to pass Gronk, but obviously Gronk has the Super Bowls, and with 6 more years of experience, the numbers just back it up. But absolutely transcendent talent. Let's get to the little redraftable phase. McCourty was 100% the right pick. Patriots traded down from 22nd and 24th, eventually picking up a 3rd round and allowing them to trade up in the 4th round. Absolutely, McCourty was the guy. He's the one that's been around for 10 years, leader of that defense. But I'm going to play a little what-if for you. Patriots traded out of 22nd and 24th, who were Demaryius Thomas and Dez Bryant. Obviously, absolutely premier receivers, top-end talent. Patriots just haven't had that. You go back to that time period, Welker, 28, still had a couple good years left, but Moss, unfortunately, that was kind of the end of Moss, the 2009 season. So let's play a little what if. What if the Patriots do take either Bryant or Thomas with that first pick? In this case scenario, I'm going to say they do take Gronk as well. Different positions. Was it likely that Bill Belichick at the time is going to take back-to-back skill positions? Probably not. But let's just say he did. This, to me, absolutely changes the Drew Brees, Tom Brady dynamic. These are the stats from 2010 to 2014, so when these guys would have been young, talented, and on the rosters. Brees and the Saints had just over 24,000 passing yards. Brady and company had a little over 21,000. To the right, you can see the Patriots receivers, or pass catchers that time. And just to me, Julian Edelman is 3rd on that list, and Deion Branch is 5th. Branch was good in 2004, and Edelman was good in 2018. This was not the time period where these guys were good. So imagine if Brady had Dez Bryant and Demaryius Thomas. Absolute top-end talents. They could throw the ball over the yard. And that's where, to me, Brady could have passed Brees in career passing yards. Just if he had a little bit more talent, they threw it a little bit more around the yard. You go back to kind of the 2007 type offense. If you remember with Hernandez and Gronk, they slowed down a little bit. They were, 2 tight end sets. They still threw it, obviously, 3rd in the league in passing in that time period. But with some top end talent, Brady's numbers could have been even better, which is pretty scary to think. That second round, they did have 3 second-round picks. The year before, they had 4. Gronk, an absolute stud. He obviously makes up for everything. But they could have done some different things in the second round that would have been a little bit different. They ended up drafting Jermaine Cunningham and Brandon Spikes, both out of Florida. Spikes, to me, I have fond memories of. Inside linebacker for 4 years, absolute thumper. Great in the run game. He was just a tad slow. 5.05 40-yard dash coming out of college. He was good when he was there, but they could have done a little bit better. And then Cunningham, he stuck around for 3 years. He was all right, but not exactly the player you needed. And when you see who was drafted after him, it gets a little bit worse. So this is most of the second round here. And if you draw your attention to Cunningham here, after Cunningham at 53 went Carlos Dunlap and Sean Lee, 54th and 55th. Whew, that hurts. That is that's a tough one to swallow. If you look at Cunningham, he's not the same type of player as Dunlap is Lee. If you look at Brandon Spikes, though, Brandon Spikes might be that Sean Lee model, and Cunningham, he could have been either one of those, possibly, but not really. If the Patriots had taken one of those guys, you're talking about an absolute stud. Not the Chandler Jones, Dante Hightower, Devin McCourty type maybe, but absolute stalwarts in your defense. They're going to be smart football players, get to the football. Obviously do more than Cunningham. So to me, that's the one that's a little bit of a miss. And then you see on the right side of your screen, not much third-round talent. I mean, maybe Morgan Burnett, maybe Ed Dixon, nice little pieces there. But to me, Golden Tate's the one. And they took Gronk there, so you're not going to take a receiver most likely. But they go take a receiver in the third round, which we'll get to. Imagine Golden Tate in that spot instead. Let's get to that receiver, Taylor Price. This will be a theme in the redraftables. The Patriots swung and missed often in the third round. Taylor Price was no different. Less than 100 yards receiving in his career. That third-round talent was pretty good up above him. Emmanuel Sanders, Brandon LaFell, Eric Decker, Andre Roberts, some good guys, and then some misses. I mean, you go down the list, there were some misses. After him, one of them, Mike Williams, Riley Cooper, and then obviously Antonio Brown was that draft. Antonio Brown's a stud. I'm not saying they should have taken him. Obviously, sixth round, no one really was looking at him, but just a long line of misses. You would have thought this would have at some point ended up differently, but it did not here. Just tough. It's another one that it's hard to swallow. Notably, after Taylor Price, was Navarro Bowman was the very next pick, the San Francisco linebacker. He would have been a nice addition, maybe instead of Spikes. And then Jimmy Graham was 5 picks later. The Aaron Hernandez, I'm not going to overly get into it, but obviously the world's a little bit better if the Patriots take Jimmy Graham instead of Aaron Hernandez in that draft. With that being said, this is the latter half of the draft, and this is where, to me, it's really it's a tough draft. I'm not going to go into too much of who they could have got here, but no guys that really made it to a second contract. Ted Larson's the one that's a real miss for me. He was cut in September. It should be 2010, not 2012 on the right-hand side. He's gone on to have a 10-year NFL career. We're still playing in the league in 2019. He lost spots to Stephen Neal and Ryan Waddell. You would have liked to have a depth lineman like him. Possibly could have played somewhere down the road. And then the other one is, so they had picks 247, 248, and 250. 259 was the guy that actually played in the league. Brandon Diedrich did play a little bit, did play 3 years in New England, was all right. But as we've talked about, the Patriots had a lack of DBs, lack of corners in this time period, and Robert McClain's the guy who went 249 to Carolina. Obviously only lasted 1 year in Carolina, but maybe Bill Belichick sees something from him. Connecticut guy, I would assume they took a look at him. That would have been nice. Obviously, 7th round, you're just shooting darks, see what happens. But would have been nice to end up with a guy, especially when you had 3 picks in that range. And they, of course, can't land the guy that was a real contributor. Not a stud, but could have helped, especially those teams at that time. So with that being said, it was a great draft. McCourty and Gronk, absolute studs, played for many years, were very dynamic, helped lead the team to 3 Super Bowls. They obviously don't get there without those 3. But as you'll see in the 2010s, kind of a lack of depth there. This was one of the better drafts with Hernandez, Zoltan Mesko, Brandon Spikes, but some big misses. Patriots would have liked to have a couple of ones back there, but they obviously... Rob Gronkowski and Devin McCourty will have their place at Patriots Hall of Fame one day, so you'll take that. And thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for, if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already.